While some love the spooky, creepy side of the holiday, some children may feel more scared than others. Dr. Holly MacKenna with Darrow Wellness joins us now to explain fears and phobias and how to cope with them and how to help your kids cope with them. Thank you for coming on this morning.
I know, right? Yeah.
Such an important topic. You know, as a mom of 5 little ones, we're still in that kind of candy corn and happy ghost phase. But like you said, a lot of people like the scary stuff. So how do you balance that?
Yeah, so there's a part of our brain that's called the amygdala that's kind of always on guard, looking to see, are we in danger, and just to keep us safe. It activates another part of our brain that then gets into the tunnel vision of, I'm in danger, I need to keep myself safe. Then the cognitive brain takes over. And so in folks who are anxious, it's really a quick transition to being scared and a slower transition to the cognitive. And then for littles, their cognitive brain isn't fully developed. And that fantasy life is reality in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so it's harder for them to kind of know like what's real, what's not. One way I always say for parents and even for folks who are dealing with them themselves is to just have some compassion for yourself, have some grace with your child, and really let them take the lead as far as, you know, what they want to do, what they want to get out of, whether it be Halloween or that party. Is it more important to them to get candy or to dress up in the costume or just see their friends?
Sure.
And maybe let that dictate like how things go for the evening.
Yeah, so if you're, out trick-or-treating and you see a house that looks pretty spooky and your kids just aren't into that, do you maybe just skip that house?
I mean, I would go for the Disney house, if I had littles. I mean, and I still have a 7-year-old, and he's afraid of the dark. And so and I just go with whatever he says. Sure. I don't want to shame him, and I don't want him to feel bad about it. A lot of it is just developmental, like where they are at that stage of life. And so allowing them to have a sense of control, because a lot of those spookiness is that lack of control, because, you don't know that
right.
jack-o'-lantern's gonna start talking to you, or that, whatever thing that house has that's gonna cause a scare. So letting them decide like, okay, that's not somewhere that I wanna try to go to, even though maybe, you want them to get the best experience. Just kind of let them decide. And it's okay if you maybe do a few less houses.
Exactly, yeah. I'm sure we will all end up with plenty of candy regardless. Adults, it's not just about kids. Some adults have real phobias. And, we've talked about anxiety and how sometimes exposure therapy, you got to push through that anxiety so that you don't make it worse. But in some cases, if it's avoidable, you can just avoid it too.
That's just it. So you have to decide for yourself, again, with compassion and grace. You don't want to add shame to the experience. Is this something that I can just avoid once a year? Or is it something that's interfering with my life? And that's when you decide, do I want to lean into it, talk to a therapist, journal, work with my family members and try to figure it out. Sometimes looking at the actual phobia and trying to explore where it came from. It might be from when you were young and that fantasy life was a little blurred, and maybe leaning into that might help you realize, the origin, so it's a little easier to tackle it. But if it's something that's just a once in the year, like I told you, I can't watch Michael Myers, like I just avoid it.
Yeah, it comes up once a year. It's not your thing. You just avoid it. I told you the way I used to get through scary movies when it was like the cool thing in high school is I just sit there and I'm like, this isn't real. It's not real. I'm not scared.
And that's a technique. You have to remind yourself, again, because when you're in that fear state, the cognitive brain kind of shuts off because you're in tunnel vision. And so the self-talk is actually great self-therapy. It really is. Like we're joking.
It's a way to keep your cognitive brain activated.
Yes, 100%.
So you're not just reactive to that fear.
Right. Like that's a form of grounding yourself, keeping yourself in the here and now, because whatever you're looking at is not the here and now. It's supposed to be fun.
Exactly. Dr. Holly, thank you so much. We always appreciate you coming.